The day was December 12th, 2024. The honestly really lame Sonic Movie 3 DLC came out for Shadow Generation. And on the same day, the Game Awards was going on. And as any Jeff Keighley show would be, it was so boring.
Joseph, what a guy.
Is that Shadow the Hedgehog? Aw, man. Yes, a new Sonic racing game was announced. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Yay. I was not exactly excited, to say the least. Not because I thought it would be bad or anything, but my history with Sonic racing games has been complicated. Okay, not complicated. I really just don't like these games. I know, listen. They're not bad games. In fact, I think a lot of enjoyment can be had out of them. The Sonic Drift games are simple, but they have a lot of charm. The Sonic Rivals games are okay. And Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing is pretty fun, actually. But that brings us to everyone's favorite Sonic kart racing game.
Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform.
I am not a huge fan. But I don't hate it. I don't know. I always see people hyping this game up as like one of the best racing games of all time. And they talk about how fun the game is and how cool the transforming mechanic is and Wreck-It Ralph. And Danica Patrick. But I don't know. To me, it's just like, it's alright. I just don't get the hype. I mean, the gameplay's alright, but the items are trash. The transforming gimmick just isn't fun.
There's no way,
Just not a huge fan of Transform. In fact, I tend to prefer the first game a lot of the time. The announcer guy's really funny, though.
What? You're going the wrong way. Shame on you. Don't do this to me. This is my only job. No.
Up next, we have the most recent out of the Sonic Racing series before Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Team Sonic Racing. Why is my Switch copy European? Team Sonic Racing is honestly just sad. I see so much potential with this game, and I really love the ideas they had for it. The concept of bringing back teams from one of the greatest 3D Sonic games of all time. Yes, we love Sonic Heroes in this house. For a racing game, it's genius. And then the game came out after a 6-month delay. For the online, that didn't even work. Team Sonic Racing is so lame. This time around, the game has a story mode, but it's pretty terrible. The missions aren't fun, and the story itself is literally a whole bunch of nothing. All the characters do is question if Dodonpa's evil or not, and talk about whatever.
You ever have one of those feelings? Like
you're about to get your car fed to you by a blue hedgehog?
No, never. I'm not hungry, but thanks.
Wow, dude.
What is
you
the
take
point
all
of this
the fun out of trash
interaction?
talk.
The character roster is small with a bunch of completely strange picks. Vector is paired with Silver and Blaze. What happened to the Chaotix? Charmy and Espio are just not here. Same with Cream. They replaced her with Omo Chow. And why is Sabok here? He's literally on the same team as Eggman. Don't you have beef with this guy?
I will destroy everything you love and make you rot.
It's just so weird. I can't imagine their thought process for this roster. The actual gameplay of TSR is fine, I guess. But the team mechanics they so heavily marketed... Well, I mean marketed... The marketing for this game is so bad. These just boil down to spamming the swap item button so you can fill your ultimate gauge. That's literally the only thing you can do as a team. There's no depth, there's no interesting approaches, there's nothing. There's no other reason for this game to be divided into teams. Just a waste of a really good idea. And that's what's so sad about Team Sonic Racing to me. There's so many good aspects about this game, like the graphics and the soundtrack and the animations they made for it. But you can only really compliment everything that's not the actual game. So that's Team Sonic Racing for you. 6 out of 10, I like it more than both All-Star games to me. But out of all Sonic Racing games, there's a sub-series that's arguably the most interesting and well-loved of them all. The holy grail of Sonic Racing, if you will. The series that people had been begging for a return to for over 15 years. Sonic Racing Cars. Sonic Riders. I love Sonic Riders. Okay, not really.
I hate this, bro.
It's water, bro!
Let me clarify, okay? Sonic Riders is awesome. The aesthetic is really nice. The story is good enough. The music is decent, and the gameplay is really, really fun. Once you get the hang of things. once you get the hang of things. Because if you don't have the hang of things, this game is a nightmare. Earlier this year, actually, I went into Riders for the first time ever. I had heard about how complex it is, but I thought I'd be able to get the hang of it pretty quickly. I copped the game, hopped right into story mode, and started the special race to see who's the fastest. What does that even mean? Shockingly, I did pretty good on Metal City, if I remember correctly. It was smooth sailing for me. I had no idea what people were talking about. The controls were kind of confusing, but I mean, it was fine. It was okay. So honestly, I was shocked. Like, it didn't really seem that hard. Again, I didn't know what people were talking about. And as I beat Metal City, I was having a good time. The game was kind of fun, actually. So, as anyone would, I continued on to the second race, and that's when I found something out. I was not familiar with your game, Sonic Riders. For some odd reason, the developers of this game decided to make it one of the most mechanically complex Sonic games ever. The amount of things that you have to keep up with during a race is actually insane. If you're planning to get a good start to the race, well, you've got to make sure you time your run correctly, or else you'll get electrocuted. You want to drift? Well, make sure you can control this. You want to get a sick trick? Hold down the A button, but only for a certain period of time because it slows you down, and you don't want to slow down, do you? But while you're doing that, also make sure to hold down the stick trick even higher. How are you supposed to know that? I don't know. But also make sure to land the trick, because if you don't, then literally nothing you just did matters at all. Want to grind on these rails? Well, too bad. You're not a speed-based character, because only they can do that. And if you are a speed-based character, well, I hope you know you can only get on the rails if you press A twice. If you're feeling slow and you want a quick burst of speed, then you can use the boost button. But make sure not to spam it, because it takes air out of your air meter. What's the air meter, you ask? Oh, well, that's just the amount of time you can use your board. So yes, on top of every single aspect in this game that you have to keep track of, there's also a central air meter that you have to keep track of to compete in the race. And if you run out of air, well, hope you're good at running to find a refill. It's just too much. Just way too much. I will say, though, when you do get good at Riders, it really becomes a blast. And I think that's when I can see the appeal for it the most, and honestly agree. Nowadays, I really enjoy it. But the problem for me is that I'll never be able to forget my first playthrough of this game and how frustrating it was. So that kind of leads me to have a mixed opinion overall on Sonic Riders, which is really unfortunate. Oh, and I've never played Zero Gravity, and Free Riders, I literally quit on the first stage. Thankfully, though, there's one Sonic racing game for me that's different than all the others. This is the game that I've never ever had an issue with, and that's why I decided to hold off on it until I get all these other games out of the way. This is my holy grail. I love Sonic R. There's no joke here. I genuinely love this game. Which may be a shocker because most people kind of bash this game, but I've always loved Sonic R. It has very little content, controls that are just really weird, and was the only fully original Sonic game for the Sega Saturn. But I don't know, man. I just love it. The 5 tracks that are here are actually really cool. The design of the tracks is pretty fun, and there's a good amount of shortcuts here you can take as well. Like I mentioned earlier, the controls are very weird, but in my opinion, it's really not that hard to get used to, and especially once you start using things like the drift to your advantage, it makes this game's movement so much easier and more enjoyable. Just like the amount of tracks, the character roster is really small, but some characters are pretty cool. Metal Sonic, Metal Knuckles, Tails Doll, and even Super Sonic, which actually just made his comeback to Sonic Racing 2. But we'll get to that. And the music, bro, the music.
You're the one that makes me feel so high. I never want to hear you say goodbye.
Easily the most iconic part of Sonic R, and I love it for that. Every song in this game leaves you feeling like life is sunshine and rainbows. These songs may be really out of place, but that doesn't matter. I know this is unpopular, but I don't care. I love Sonic R. This game is great. But overall, Sonic Racing as a concept just never really had a good track record for me. Out of all of these games, I've only ever been able to get into 2, which really sucks. And now again, we'll flash back to CrossWorlds getting revealed, and this is why my hopes weren't really that high. Until the first actual trailer came out. I genuinely liked what I saw here. Before this, we'd only ever seen the CGI teaser with Shadow, but this was the real deal. And honestly, it looked pretty good. The tracks seemed cool, the crossroad mechanic was really interesting, and the extreme gear is back. Yeah, this was a shocker. Kinda. People had already been talking about this ever since the reveal trailer, but I was very, very in denial. But yeah, this looked great. Like, I was actually kind of excited. And after this, my excitement only increased because I found out that I'd be able to try the game in the closed network test. This was some of, if not the most fun I've ever had in a Sonic racing game. It was janky, it was chaotic, the music was mid, the item balancing was terrible. That was 6 items. I got hit by 6 items here. But regardless of its issues, it was so fun. Like, genuinely, I was addicted. I put so many hours into just this one test alone, and it only went on for like 2 days. Unfortunately, since it was just a test, it had a lot of the features missing. The UI was really basic and unfinished, the character roster was this, and the extreme gear just wasn't here. But for what it was a really solid foundation, and the gameplay I could not get enough of. This closed beta test is exactly what sealed the deal for me on Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. So months later, after multiple trailers, more demos, music drops, SpongeBob, a really sick animation, and $90.
Only heard 30 seconds of your song. Only heard 30 seconds of it. You are the worst rapper alive.
Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is incredible. Not even just incredible, it defies everything that came before it in some of the best ways possible. Every aspect about this game that was done in the other racing games are just better here. The track choices this time around are some of the most interesting we've had yet. We have familiar areas like Apotos from Sonic Unleashed, Mystic Jungle from Sonic Forces, Kronos Island from Sonic Frontier. Yes, the entire island. Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2. And Shadow Generations. And Shadow Generations. And Shadow Generations. And Sonic Generations 3DS. And Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games. This does look kind of fun, though. Okay, never mind. And even a track themed around Sonic Superstars. Who remembers that? Seriously, who remembers this? I opened the game for the first time in like a year to record gameplay. We have new tracks like E Stadium, which is the box art track, Wonder Museum, Donpa Factory, Crystal Mine, Pumpkin Mansion. I love this track. And the Crossroad exclusive tracks are super cool as well. More Sonic Unleashed, Sweet Mountain and Starlight Carnival from Sonic Colors, White Cave from Sonic Riders, Dinosaur Jungle from Sonic and the Secret Rings, and there's Cyberspace. I really love Cyberspace. This is my favorite CrossWorlds. There's a few new locations here for the CrossWorlds, but I don't know, they're alright. I'm not really a huge fan of Magna Planet. Overall, though, I'm a really big fan of this track selection, and the actual design of the tracks is great. There's a good amount of shortcuts you can take, and all the tracks are pretty varied in their design. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Sonic Team cooked here. Good job, guys. The actual gameplay here is pretty standard for a racing game, but like I said, it's just better. The controls feel tighter and smoother. They added back flight and boat mode and somehow made them fun. Most of the time. The item balancing was definitely improved on. And just like the closed beta test, the gameplay loop is addicting. After every single race that I do, I just want to keep doing more. And to me, that's part of what makes this game so much different than the others. Something like All-Stars Racing Transformed or Team Sonic Racing could just never really draw my attention in like that. And I'm so glad that CrossWorlds is able to do that for me and does keep me hooked. The other important aspects about this game are done phenomenally here as well. The character roster this time around is so much more expansive and has all the essential characters you could think of. Yes, I said essential. The customization is honestly insane. Like, you can really just create whatever you want to. And now there's even the completely new addition of the gadget system. These are different upgrades that can change aspects about your vehicle, like the stats, or how fast you trick, or how fast your drift gauge charges. My personal favorite, actually, and the one that I see a lot of people using, is the gadget that gives you a 4th drift charge. This 4th drift charge gives you invincibility frames, and this gadget alone has saved me so many times. In my opinion, if you're playing on extreme gear, this is necessary. But gadgets can also give you things like rings, items, higher chances for said items, a 3rd slot for said items. There's also a gadget to make your drift spin around. The music of this game is pretty good too. This was one of the elements of the closed beta test that I thought was kind of meh, but it had a major glow up. now there's so many new amazing songs in this game's OST. And that's not even scratching the surface of it. It's hard for me to decide if this game's OST is better than Team Sonic Racing's OST, but regardless, it's pretty close. And on the topic of Team Sonic Racing, CrossWorlds actually does lack something that game did have. A story. Which is for the better. Because as I was talking about earlier, Team Sonic Racing's story just sucked. It was a waste of time. And I'm glad that they put that time and effort into everything else rather than making a story that people likely wouldn't care about anyway. There are many lines of dialogue in this game though, and the rival interactions are the best example. In a Grand Prix before every cup, you're assigned a rival that's basically like the best AI racer on the track. You can actually change their difficulty level here, but the higher levels are low-key insane. And the coolest part about this is that before the first race of every cup, your character interacts with their given rival. There's honestly some really neat stuff here. Like, the character interactions are written pretty well.
You look tense, buddy. Wanna go fishing after this?
No.
These interactions make it so that characters you'd never expect to even be in the same room get a chance to talk to each other. And remember 9 minutes ago when I mentioned Super Sonic? Well, this is how you unlock him. Beat all 23 rivals, and now you can play as Super Sonic, which is basically just God mode. He gets stats increases, he can't get hit with items or anything, and he has really cool animations. And fun fact, he also has cut rival animations, which reference Sonic Frontiers Update 3. Which is cool. More you know, right? Not sure what missing string table entry means though. Sonic's writing has really changed. Now at this point you may be thinking, is that it? Is this game really just perfect? Well, yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Okay, no, obviously not. I do have a few points of criticism for this game, like where are the Sonic Riders outfits? Yeah, my criticism is basically just nitpicks. But seriously, where are the outfits? This is something that all the most recent 3D Sonic games lack in, and I really don't understand it. And even those games had something cool sometimes, but CrossWorlds just has nothing. And back to the Riders outfits example, they literally added the blue star from Riders. Instead, the most we got is these things that make funny noises, which costs 3,000 tickets per character to unlock. Which is another issue I have with the game. Everything is so expensive. Like I mentioned, to unlock those AI skins and other cosmetics, you have to pay the characters themselves tickets. Upwards of 7,000, again, per character. And keep in mind, races give like 20 if you do well. That, along with all the car parts you have to buy and everything else that costs tickets in this game, roughly calculates to around a lot of tickets. A lot. There's a lot of tickets, a lot of grind. How jobless do you think I am, Sonic Team?
Perfect.
Okay, how jobless do you know I am, Sonic Team? And those are pretty much the only issues I have with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, which again, they're basically just nitpicks. So if you were to genuinely ask me, is Sonic Racing CrossWorlds perfect? No, but no game is. And I think CrossWorlds is the closest to perfection that Sonic Racing has ever gotten. I'm so excited for the future of this game and all the content they're planning to add, and in fact, since this video's taken so long, they've announced Tango and Whisper from the IDW comics are coming. CrossWorlds is a game that exceeded my expectations and finally gave me a chance to enjoy Sonic Racing with everyone else. So again, good job, Sonic Team, you guys cooked here. Seriously though, $90?